Hello and welcome everyone to today's Fairygodboss live webinar. Happy Monday, folks. We are so excited to have you all join us. We're going to give folks a few seconds to connect. So while we are doing that, I'd love to know where everyone's tuning in from today. You'll see on the right side of your screen, there's a chat box. So if you feel comfortable doing so, please send a message in the chat saying, hey, and let us know where you're all coming in from. Already, I see Florida's in the house, Stamford, Connecticut, New York over here. And we're going to let a few more folks chime on in. And let's see. All right, so I'm going to go on ahead and get things started while we're getting more folks chiming in. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Lasheen Williams, the Enterprise Brand Strategist here at Fairygodboss. And before we get started, I did have a quick few announcements. Number one, the session will be recorded and shared via email with all registrants. Number two, during this discussion, we would love to hear from you. We want this to be interactive, give and take. So we will use the stage chat on the right side of your screen to send messages, comments, and questions to the panelists and to one another. Folks, we really want to make this interactive, okay? We want you guys to get a lot out of this. And now, I am so excited to kick off today's event, Women Leaders in Today's Global Banking World, sponsored by none other than Bank of America. Now, for those who don't know, Fairygodboss is the largest career community for women. Millions of women visit Fairygodboss for career connections, jobs, community advice, hard to find intel about how companies treat women, and virtual events just like this one. So enough about me. Let's talk about Bank of America. And we are thrilled to be joined today by 4 leaders of the Bank of America team. It's going to be Holiday, Kara, Kathy, and Michelle. So I would love it if each of you ladies could spend a few minutes to introduce yourselves. We'd love to hear what's going on in your life personally, if you want, professionally, definitely, and what you do in your role at Bank of America. Holiday, BT Dub, I love your name so much. Holiday, I would love to start with you. Would you want to jump in?
Sure. First of all, it's great to be here. I am joining all of you from New York City. I actually have lived in New York City for 23 years, which is exactly how long I've been with Bank of America. So I joined in 2000. I have had, over the 23 years I've been at the bank, 6 sort of different roles. 3 have been individual contributor roles, and 3 have been leadership roles. The role that I'm in now, and I've been in it for about 2 years, specifically covers in industry. So within the Global Commercial Bank, a lot of what we cover is general industries, but there are a few specific industries that are sort of pulled out and covered by teams. So the one my team covers is healthcare, education, and not-for-profit. So my relationship managers on my team cover names like, and I'm going to name names you probably are very familiar with, Columbia University, NYU, Doctors Without Borders, the Metropolitan Opera. So as you can see, very exciting organizations that we cover. So I love this role, hope to be in it for a lot longer. And just on a personal front, I live in the Bronx, and I have 2 children, 14 and 11, and a giant golden retriever.
Very, very nice. Thank you so much, Holiday. Kara, we would love to hear from you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having us today. So my name is Kara Pan. I am the Midwest Region Executive for the Commercial Bank for Bank of America. I've been with the firm for 24 years. Today, I sit in Chicago, but I have held roles in Chicago, in Boston, in New York, 3 stints in Chicago, it's kind of back and forth. I have, similar to Holiday, I've had what I'll call 3 separate roles within this firm. I spent about 18 years in capital markets. I spent about 4 years in a role where I worked specifically on Chicago. We worked with the local nonprofits, the public policy partners here, marketing, branding. So more of an externally facing, how we're viewed in the city type role. And then the last 2 years, I have been in this role. And on a personal side, I live in Chicago. I live in Lincoln Park. And I've got 2 little kids who are part of the Chicago public school system. So I am very embedded in what happens here in the city.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kara. Let's see. Kathy, we would love to hear from you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us. I'm actually sitting just down the hall from Holiday. I'm also based in New York City. I am the market exec for Metro New York, which includes New York City and Long Island. I have been with Bank of America for 27 years. I have had what I'll call about 4 different roles. So some of them kind of morph into each other, but I started out doing what I would largely describe as primarily a credit/banking role. I started long ago enough in banking that those things weren't all that separate as they are now. I transitioned to a COO role for several different investment banking groups for a number of years. Then I was in large corporate coverage, doing primary coverage of large cap financial services companies. And I've been in this role for the last year, almost exactly. So I've been in New York my entire career. So all of the things I just described to you, my journey here at Bank of America, have all been in New York City. On a personal note, I live in Connecticut and have 3 Bengal cats. So my house is a bit of a jungle.
So cool. I love it. And then last but certainly not least, Michelle, we would love to hear from you.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. And I say good morning because I am on the West Coast and it is 9:07 my time. I am based in Los Angeles, California. I am a market executive, so I run the Los Angeles global commercial banking team. And we are focused in the middle market space. A little bit about me. I'm originally from the East Coast. I'm originally from Florida. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. And I went to school at the University of Florida. And I had an opportunity right after undergraduate school to move to San Francisco. So my first professional role, was in San Francisco, California. And it was the first time I had ever been on the West Coast. So that was an exciting time for me. I moved quite a bit. My first 15 years of my career, I was with General Electric. So I was part of a leadership development program, and I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast to the West Coast to the East Coast many times. So I lived in New York City and Stamford, Connecticut, and Seattle, Washington, Mexico City. I moved to Los Angeles for a project, and I have been here in LA for 18 years. So LA is my home and a place that I started my professional career at a VP level and realized that building out my network in this community was very, very important. Not just my professional network, but my personal network, and ultimately met my husband here. My husband and I live together with our 12-year-old dog, who's unfortunately sprained his back last night. So I didn't sleep much last night because he was crying. But we love LA. My husband is a military veteran. He was in the Army for many years, and he's now retired. And we love to travel. And I will be back in Miami to visit my family in a couple weeks.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry to hear about your dog. Hope that gets better. All right. So let's jump into the nitty gritty, as they say. And I had a question. Just, as far as, Bank of America, this is a very well-known name. Bank of America is a huge company. And the area that you all work in is called Global Commercial Banking, otherwise called GCB. Kara, I would love it if you could kind of take us, on a ride here. Like, what exactly is Global Commercial Banking?
Yeah, perfect. So you hit the nail on the head. We work for a very, very large institution. We have over 200,000 employees, and from the top of the house The purpose of the bank is to make financial lives better through the power of every connection. So we do this by working with clients through 8 different lines of businesses. And those 8 lines of businesses are going to range anything from 2-legged individuals who walk into a franchise and want to deposit a check, all the way to working with Fortune 100 companies and looking to buy other companies or looking for advice. So the Global Commercial Bank is one of those 8 lines of businesses. And specifically, we serve companies that have more than 50 million in annual sales and less than 2 billion in annual sales. And by serving those companies, what I mean is that we actually partner with the client to make sure that we're meeting whatever financial service they need, that we'd help them meet that goal. So whether that is through treasury or through credit, mergers and acquisitions, anything financial, a credit card, it even could be. So we're partnering with those clients to make sure that their financial needs are met. My team specifically covers the Midwest region. And so what I often say to people that are not familiar with the commercial bank is we do not cover Ford and GM in the Midwest for the commercial bank, but we do cover every supplier, every partner that goes up through Ford and GM. It's a good way to think about it from our end.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I wanted to go a step further and ask, it sounds like at GCB, there's no set background to have. So, in order to find success there. So can you tell us a little bit about your career path to GCB and what do you like about it? Michelle, I'd love it if you could kick us off.
Sure. I have a little bit of an unconventional background, especially with my peers here today. I am the youngest member in today's session, youngest by age of time with Bank of America. So I've been with Bank of America for 8 years, but my peers here, as you've heard, have been here for a few decades or more. So I worked for the first 15 years of my career at General Electric, where I was focused on lending, on corporate finance and raising debt capital for companies. The opportunity I had 8 years ago when I joined Bank of America, I thought I was an expert in my field, and that would be a function that I would spend most of my career, if not in my entire career, in. But what I learned when I joined Bank of America is the breadth and the depth of B of A, working with companies. So not only do we raise capital, help companies raise capital via credit, via loans, but we also help companies raise equity. We also help companies manage their day-to-day banking activity, operating activity. So think if you as an individual have a checking account because you are using your debit card, your credit card, and also collecting your paycheck, companies are the same. They're making payments and they're receiving payments. So when I joined Bank of America, that was a function that was very, very new to me. Yet as a 15-year veteran, I thought I was very understanding of capital markets and business function, but I had a lot to learn, and it's been a great 8 years.
I love it. Fantastic. Thanks, Michelle. Holiday, please, we'd love to hear a little bit more about your career path to GCB and what do you like about it?
Sure. So I actually started my career at Bank of America in large corporate. So Kara was talking about the different lines of business. Large corporate is a line of business where we cover organizations that are 2 billion and over. And I loved it, but it meant a lot of travel, both domestically and internationally. So I was covering large corporate clients for about 9 years, but my personal situation changed quite a bit over that time. I got married and I had my daughter. And once I had my daughter, the one who's now 14, I really wanted a change. I wanted to not travel so much. And I had heard about GCB and how great the culture was. It's a culture of sort of trust and so many wonderful things I had heard over time. So I basically sought it out. because of the culture and because of the fact that generally speaking, you don't travel quite as much, right? Because the companies aren't global for the most part. You're not covering all the different subsidiaries. Well, so the ironic thing is I moved, 9 years later to the global commercial bank, and I did have a role for a while that I was not traveling more than just, to Long Island, and it was very easy for me to manage. And I had my second child. But I say ironically because a couple of roles I have had in GCB have required me to travel quite a bit. I did have a national role at one point, and I was traveling all over the country again. But I really didn't mind it. I was at a different place in my personal life. And so now I feel like I get the best of both worlds. I get this great culture of GCB, of trust and compassion and all of that. And I travel, but it's not extensively. My team covers the Northeast, so my travel isn't too great right now.
Good, excellent. And then Kathy, we'd love to hear a bit about your career path as well to GCB, and what do you like about it?
Sure. So, starting just with career path and background, I guess I would argue I have a pretty traditional background, having sort of started in banking and stayed in banking. But that said, our company looks much different today than it did when I joined 27 years ago. I said at the outset, I've always been based in New York. When I first started, we did not have very much in New York at all. It was really just a small, my small team of people that focused on a very particular sector that was very close to where, we were located. And then over time, our company grew, we gained capabilities, we, added tremendous capabilities in capital markets. We went, through quite a number of mergers. We became a very impactful global platform, which all these things were not the case when I first started. So I've sort of grown with the company along its journey as it relates to just my knowledge base and my own, path as a banker. And so as it relates to, now landing in GCB, I think I may be the longest tenured person from a B of A overall perspective, but I believe I'm also the newest person to GCB, having only been here just for a year. So I came here as an opportunity to, lead a market and, develop, take that next step in my own career path. And I would really just wholeheartedly agree with the comments made so far around the culture of our organization, the support that comes along with being in the commercial bank has all been really tremendous. And maybe the last comment I'll make is it was perhaps another reflection of just how large of a company we are. When I arrived in my new seat about a year ago, I thought, well, I've been here forever. I know lots of people in New York, and there were a whole lot of people I didn't know and met as part of this, as being in this seat. So, yeah, it's been a great transition. It's been a great transition.
I love it. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. So, Kara, I wanted to bounce back over to you with another question here. Now, what's something that you think most people, perhaps even current employees, don't know about Bank of America that you think they should?
So if you listen to our CEO, oftentimes he will talk about how we will be best in class in every single thing we do. And why does that really matter to people who are either looking to come to this firm or even some individuals within this firm? Well, it matters because in order to be best in class in literally everything we do, we have to have the best talent. And I'm not just talking about the talent, against our competitors in the financial industry. When our CEO says that, he's talking about the best talent across the globe. So against Amazon and against Apple. And, we simply have to attract the best talent. And to do that, we have to be very committed about being an amazing place to work. And so it all really stems from making sure that we are an industry, we're an institution that really tries to make sure that within these four walls, we create an environment for people where they can thrive and that we are really making the best place to work. So we've made a really large commitment to making this a place where strong talent can come, can stay, can grow their careers. Like as Kathy was just mentioning, you can move around to different parts of the bank. And I think part of that is just understanding, where within the industry you can go and within this firm you can go. And so kind of learning to navigate that, but understanding, Bank of America, as I had mentioned before, with 200,000 people, we're not just a finance firm, we're an HR firm, we're a tech firm, we're a law firm. And so as people want to grow their careers, there's a lot of opportunity within our four walls to try different things and to do different roles that are really supported by our CEO and our management team, because we do want to attract strong talent, keep strong talent, and make sure that we're giving everyone the opportunity to really grow their career here.
Absolutely. And I think the proof is, right in the pudding here, because we have a 23-year, 24-year, and a 27-year vet, right on this call. So clearly the bank is doing something right. We're treating you guys right. So I love it. Holiday, I would love your insights on this. What's something that you think people should know about Bank of America that you don't think they do?
I don't know if people know this or not, but one of the things that really impresses me about the bank is our involvement in local communities and the support that we provide. I was looking at these statistics yesterday, and in New York City alone, for example, the bank has given $73 million in grants and matching gifts over the past 5 years. To me, that's incredible. Also, employees have donated $16 million, and a lot of that is matched by Bank of America. And then on top of that, we have a very strong culture of volunteerism. So our CEO has actually, we have a goal to reach 2 million volunteer hours annually. So it's certainly a culture of giving back, and particularly because of the clients that I support in the not-for-profit space, I talk a lot about that. And we spend as a team a lot of time actually volunteering with a lot of the organizations that we support. So I love that about the bank, and not sure that's commonly known.
I love that. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And I did not know that. So that's something that people should know. All right. So, Kathy, I want to jump back over to you. Can you let us know what career development opportunities can women job seekers expect at Bank of America?
Sure. I think some of the theme here is hopefully woven through some of the comments that we've already made, but whether it's, making a change for personal reasons, wanting to know that you're at a place that can offer you the opportunity to expand your knowledge base, whether you come here explicitly from, a particularly focused institution or, right out of school, like if you're someone like me, there's a tremendous amount of greenfield opportunity here. We're an enormous organization. We do and operate a number of different businesses. You can start out in one place and, be encouraged to continue your career journey, in another part of the organization. So I'm certainly a testament to that. I've moved around a few times, as I think most of us who have been here long enough certainly have as well. So I think I didn't know it at the time when I first joined, again, because the company looked a lot different, but I've had the opportunities I've ever wanted in my career, and I've grown up with the company, and the company's grown up with me. So I think that would have been really important to me if I was thinking about joining from another organization. I mean, I think back to even how I selected like what college I wanted to go to. I made sure I picked a big place because I thought this major I think I want to do. If it's not really what I end up liking, there's other options. And sure enough, I stuck it out for a year and then ended up transferring to a different major. So I kind of feel like you have that option here too. If you don't like your first pick, there's lots of other things you can do here. So, and I think, most importantly, it's very supported. So the idea of internal mobility is culturally supported here. And so I think it's one of the reasons, B of A is such a great place to work.
I absolutely love that, and I love your mode of thinking. Like, let's just go somewhere big so that I have different options. That's just really smart. I love it. Holiday, I would love to hear from you on career development opportunities that women job seekers can expect at Bank of America.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I've never felt like I've been limited in my career opportunities because I was a woman. So the firm is open equally. I will say that. But one specific example that I want to share is I think about 8 years ago, we started a program called Relationship Manager Development Program. We love acronyms at the bank, so we call it RMDP. And it is a very formalized training program where when you enter, you have a class and you go through very specific courses and you graduate. But the great part about this RMDP program is that we take people who have very different backgrounds from your traditional banker. So we're not looking for competitors to come over to the bank in these roles. We're not looking, for people with heavy finance backgrounds. We're actually looking for people who have differentiated backgrounds but have been successful in something different. So it's been a great program. I have an RMDP on my team who has moved up the ranks and now has a full portfolio and is just doing an amazing job. So the program works. And I think it's proof that you don't have to fit a mold in order to be successfto here.
I absolutely love that. Oh my gosh. All right. And then I do want to take an audience question, but before we do that, I did want to ask Michelle your take on this question here.
Sure. I think one of the motivating factors at Bank of America is when you see someone that looks like you, then you believe in yourself and it motivates you to achieve things that maybe you never thought you could in your development. So I think one of the things I'm very proud of, especially being a part of this discussion with this audience, is not only are the 4 leaders at Bank of America that are part of today's program women, but our managers are women and our president is also a woman. So a quick example I'll share with you, our president and head of the Global Commercial Bank, Wendy Stewart, recently visited Los Angeles. And we went to visit a client in person. And when we went to take a tour of this port at the Los Angeles port, a logistics, very heavy industrial business that is run, operated, and managed by primarily men. And 5 women showed up to that meeting. Wendy Stewart, our president, Karen Sessions, our region executive, Michelle, myself, the market executive, Sylvia, a relationship manager, and Ingrid, a commercial associate. So you had a woman that was an associate, and you had 5 levels above that associate to our president in that meeting. And I will say, our client kind of took a step back and made a comment and responded with, wow, I don't think I've ever seen this before, but you've got to start somewhere. And we're very proud that we look that way. And we're excited for the moment that a client is not taken aback by having all women at the seat in the table.
That is phenomenal. I just caught a couple goosebumps just hearing that story. And that's what it's all about, right? Like right now, that might seem a little, oh, okay, take a step back. But if we keep going in the direction that we're going, it's going to become so normalized. And that is literally the goal. So thank you for being a trailblazer there, being a part of that, Michelle. That's a fantastic story. You should tell that everywhere you go. I love that. Now, I do have a question from an audience member. I like to do this Family Feud style. So whoever unmutes first gets to take it. And if anybody wants to come in after that, just let me know. So this question is simply, does Bank of America have any programs that focus on financial literacy education? Kathy?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not 100% sure what direction the question is meant to ask, but it's interesting. It reminded me of the fact that we have a tremendous effort on that very topic around financial education as an intersection between what we do in the commercial bank, serving companies and as clients, and our private wealth group, which serves individuals, as people with two legs, as they say, with their financial goals. And so, as we think about, and one of the things that's very important to us is business integration and how we have different parts of the company helping each other. We've put together very robust programs whereby we avail resources from our global wealth management arm to the employees of the companies that are customers of ours in GCB. And so that's a relatively new area of focus for us. And it's something we, really highlight as a partnership between our two different lines of business and how we can integrate our capabilities from wealth to other parts of the business. So I'm not exactly sure if that's addressing the question, but it is one way in which we very much are focused on financial education and spreading the word to the greatest amount of people that we can touch across the organization.
Okay.
Yeah, Lasheen,
Yeah,
Lasheen, let me just add on to that. Kathy's spot on. We also, many years ago, for those of you that are familiar with Khan Academy, Bank of America partnered with Khan Academy to create a program called Better Money Habits. And if you literally just go to Google and type in Better Money Habits, it will come up Bank of America's personal investment of Better Money Habits. And it's a free program that's out there. It's all access to financial education. You could look up how to get a college loan to how to get a mortgage, steps to take on any financial education journey that you're on at that moment in your life. It's more of a personal thing versus what Kathy's talking about on the corporate side. But that's a good resource and tool for individuals as well as you think about financial education.
Fantastic. I'm sure that is so helpful to our audience. Thank you both for hitting that from two totally different angles. That's exactly what we needed. Okay, so the next question I have is a little bit more personal. Again, anybody can answer, just unmute. I had taken a maternity break for 5 years and want to rejoin the banking industry. Can you please provide some tips to rejoin after such a long gap? Kara?
So I haven't taken, I think I'm going to be genuine here and say I'm jealous of you, because I think I would have loved to have spent 5 years being a mother. But with that being said, one thing I will reference is we have many people within our industry, within our firm, that have taken what I'm going to call sort of an extended break from their career and have come back and had very successful careers here. One being the president of the commercial bank, Wendy Stewart. I want to say she was home about 4 years. She decided to stay home with her children, and then came back into our industry. I think a lot of it is about your own personal drive, showing, that you're, a lot of about being a banker is creating your own business, working your own book, working with your clients, and showing your own personal drive. So I guess what I would say is, continuing to show your own tenacity, your own grit, and your excitement about returning to the industry is the perfect starting place, because there's plenty of room for you here. It's just about making sure that you're in the spot where you feel the most supported and that you think you have the most runway to really make it worth your time to come back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anybody else want to chime in before we go back to my questions? All right. Okay. So I would like for Michelle to describe some employee benefits that support women who work at Bank of America. Like, how does the bank support you professionally and maybe even personally, if you don't mind?
Sure. I'll start. When I joined Bank of America 8 years ago, I had an opportunity to join several employee networks. So at Bank of America, we have close to 20 employee networks. And those can range from a women's network, an Asian leadership network, a Hispanic Latino network, a veterans network, intergeneration network, and the list goes on and on. And you, whether you are woman or male, you can join the women's network. Whether you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, you can join the veterans network. So they are open to all. So I quickly joined the women's network, which we call LEAD, L-E-A-D, Leadership, Education, Advocacy, and Development. And I joined as a member for the first year, and I was so captivated and motivated by the women leaders that were a part of it and the opportunity to network within Bank of America with not just those members and leaders, but leaders in my community, that then I stepped up the second year and became the co-chair of the platform with over 1,000 members. And that was a huge step in my career to, one, really have an opportunity to be a leader, not necessarily, in my individual contributor role, but to be a leader in the community of Los Angeles internally at Bank of America, with an external focus as well on volunteering and helping the community and raising funds to help nonprofits. So that gave me an opportunity to display and show my leadership ability. And I think that also helped my internal career, and now being in a leadership role for the last couple of years at Bank of America.
Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Michelle. Kathy, same question your way. Can you describe some employee benefits that support women who work at the bank?
Sure. So, look, Bank of America has always had a very robust, traditional benefits offering, whether that's, health related, financial related, with things like 401k contributions and matching and the like. But what I think is really interesting and I'm particularly proud of, we have been over the last several years adding some maybe less traditional types of benefits. So things like, I think probably childcare was probably earliest, right? But then there's benefits around adult care. We've recently in the last few years added quite a bit of benefit and support for things like family planning and infertility and different. We've just expanded into different areas that really support a broader array of sort of life situations. I think the other thing we're very focused on is around wellness in its entirety. So mental, physical, emotional, and there's tremendous amount of resources provided around all three of those pillars around wellness. And, a lot of that being particularly highlighted coming out of, the COVID crisis, right? Just really adding some more support there. So I think, overall B of A has always had a very robust focus on that and continues to sort of evolve it over time to make sure we're supporting as many aspects of an employee's well-being and lifestyle as we can.
Fantastic. That's really good. And I know that's what our audience likes to hear as well. So again, just thank you so much, everyone, just for being so candid and just, really having these thought out answers. I love it. Let's see here. Holiday. I'm never going to get tired of saying your name, by the way. Holiday, what tips do you have for women who are considering a career change and want to break into a totally new role or industry?
Well, I am a good person to answer this question because I did that. I do not have a traditional finance background. The bank took a bet on me for sure. I completely pivoted in terms of my career. I say that because I was a professional ballet dancer. And in that situation, a holiday was much more of an appropriate name, frankly, than it is in banking. But I was a professional ballet dancer before I joined Bank of America. So while I did go to college and I did major in finance, I did not go to an Ivy League school. I do not have my MBA. But, through dance and the interview process, I think I was able to demonstrate that I have perseverance and focus and discipline and grit, and all those qualities that are very transferable. So I'd say, you know, for the woman who asked about coming back from maternity leave, I knew I was going to answer this question, so I didn't speak then. But I think, you know, skills, if you can demonstrate that you're excelling and whatever it is that you're doing now, even if that's being a mother, right? Juggling of 15 different things and persevering through, you know, no sleep and all of that stuff. I think those skills are going to be transferable. And then, you know, once you get to the bank, one of the things that I really appreciated is that you can pivot even when you get here, right? So don't have a traditional background, but was able to get in the door. And when I say I moved from large corporate to GCB because of personal reasons, I was very grateful that I was able to do that at the bank. And then another example of sort of pivoting once I got here was I was in a leadership position, and my mother was very, very sick, and it was just too overwhelming. My kids were little. So I purposely got out of leadership for a while and went back to an individual contributor role. And when my personal situation changed and I was in a better place, I got right back into a leadership position because I loved it and I was ready. So those are just some examples of, you know, you don't need a traditional background. You can pivot when you get here. So hopefully that answered your question.
Absolutely, it did. Thank you so much. Kathy, I would love to hear from you as well, as far as tips, you know, for considering a career change.
Yeah, sure. No, so I think, you know, networking is always really important. I know it's a word that people throw around a lot and use a lot, but, you know, for me personally, even though all of my career changes have been internal, they've all been either instigated or at the very least supported by someone, a person, a mentor. Several of them actually by the same person, mentor. But so for me, that's been the catalyst and something that's been really helpful to think through, you know, what your next move might be. Someone who can help guide you as to pros and cons and considerations, and you know, has your back and knows you and knows, you know, what elements might attract you or not to certain different positions. So for me, I'd say it's all about networking and staying out there. The other thing I love to say is that life is long, and so you never quite know where people are going to resurface in your life. So maybe someone that you worked with 10 years ago before you took your 5-year break is now somewhere new and can help you. Just kind of think back, you know, across your broad network of individuals, and you never quite know where someone might, you know, pop up in the future. So
Absolutely. Now, my next question is one I'm really excited to hear your answers on. Now, what's one leadership strategy you've used that has been particularly effective? Like, what's your number one piece of advice for other women who are moving into or want to move into leadership? Holiday, can you kick us off?
I'd say for me, it's authenticity. I moved into, and I don't like to say leadership, I like to say management role, because I think those two things are very different. But I moved into a management role thinking that I had to be a certain way. And I learned over time, authenticity is always the best way. And a leader doesn't have to look or say things in a certain way. So that's really helped me. And, you know, for people who are sort of looking to get into leadership, as I said before, I think you can demonstrate leadership in almost any role that you're in because it's a quality, right? Like that's how leadership and management are so different. And so I think the best advice too is not only be authentic, but find ways to demonstrate leadership in whatever role that you have currently.
Love it. I love it. Michelle, would you have any advice here for other women who are moving into or want to move into leadership?
This is hard because my answer is Holiday's answer. But just to expand on that, it's just be yourself, right? Individuals want to connect with you. Individuals want to understand who you are and why you are here, and want to help you grow. A strong leader is someone that is easy to connect with, so that you can be very open, so that they can be very open, to really have a common goal of growth, of learning. We will all make mistakes, and that's sometimes the best way to learn. So just be yourself, be authentic, as Holiday shared. And when you are yourself and authentic, then you have, a confidence in that mistake that you may make down the road is something that you will learn from, and then you won't make it again. And that will build leadership skills, and then that will build kind of a brand of who you are, and then ultimately people will look up to you and want to have that same authentic realness that I think is so important in leadership.
100%. I love the tag team work with you and Holiday, because it was a similar answer, but you did expand, and that was phenomenal. Thank you guys so much. I do have an audience question that just came in. So again, we're going to go back to Family Feud style. What are your go-to resources to keep yourself up to date with the most recent financial tech innovations? Kathy?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, look, it's interesting. I moved from a role where I was focused on a particular industry to now managing a team that's focused on, general industries. So really everything. And so I used to be sort of very focused on keeping abreast of, very certain topics, things like, regulatory developments and changes in capital require, a very, very specific list of things. And now it's much broader. But the question in particular around sort of technology and perhaps financial technology, we do have a number of really incredible resources here as well, not only from our equity research team, in terms of just having experts who focus on that particular sector, can certainly read, their publications. And then we also have a team that looks after the landscape on behalf of Bank of America, right? So, yes, we are a big company. Yes, we provide a lot of services, some of which are supported by partnerships with other entities, some of which are fintechs, right? So we have a whole team that actually monitors developments in that space, and they're actually very open to staying in contact with the business. So if ever, we have questions, or if there's a company we're interested in learning more about, or maybe even doing business with, they can sort of serve as a bridge as well. So I think the bank overall is very focused on keeping its pulse on that particular space. And we have resources, spanning, our direct investments team to our product and development team to our equity research team, that and as well our investment banking team, who's very focused on the fintech space in particular.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathy. Anybody else want to? Holiday?
I was just going to jump in quickly. When the question was asked, I sort of sighed, because there's just so many avenues right now to get information that it is overwhelming. I'm a big podcast believer. I love podcasts, so that's an area. But for the people who also just want to learn more about GCB, we have a component of GCB called the strategy team. They're relatively new. And one of the things Kathy was talking about is they have started this new team, and all they do is dig for relevant content that we need to be up to date on, and competitive information. So we get an email every Friday from the strategy team that, again, is part of GCB. And it's really helpful, because we're supposed to always know, not only about the latest and greatest technology, but how, from a competitive standpoint, can we articulate it based on our capabilities and other financial institutions. So that is a great group that helps support us at the bank, the strategy group. And that is something that, like I said, just started that competitive intel about a year ago.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else want to jump in on this? Okay. Michelle, you got one?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just quickly add, in addition to all the Bank of America resources that we as employees have and our customers and clients have, I do a lot of listening to podcasts, sometimes 20-minute snippets, 15-minute snippets, or 40-minute snippets. And in Los Angeles, one of the industry groups that I manage is our Aerospace Defense and Space Technologies group. So the privatization of space is something I have a big passion towards. So I'm constantly listening to podcasts on leaders in space and the emergence of all types of new technology. So there is one podcast that I was trying to look up to make sure that I share with the group here called Manifest Space with Morgan Brennan. She does a phenomenal job. If anyone ever wants to listen to that, it's a CNBC podcast.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. All righty. So switching gears just a little teeny tiny bit. At Fairygodboss, we have this tradition of asking our panelists the following. Now, one thing that we have observed, and don't shoot the messenger here, I just observed it, is that women sometimes don't feel comfortable enough bragging or taking ownership of all the amazing things that they've achieved. So what I would love is if you can each share with us an accomplishment, whether it be personal or professional, that you're most proud of. And Kara, I would love to kick it off with you.
Sure. So one thing I would say is, I'm in my mid-40s, and I feel very confident about that. When I think back about my career, I've had 3 very successful careers. Yes, all here at Bank of America, but truly different careers. I sat on a sales and trading desk. I sat across from mayors and nonprofits during the pandemic when we were talking about, can we help get them money to keep their lights on? And then now I'm leading a regional banking team. And, I'm really proud of this, the 3 separate careers, and that I've seen success in myself and in what I've done with each of those, because personally, it feels like it really shows my breadth of the capacity that I have, that I can do different things. And actually, I read an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal, and there was a quote that struck me. And I think that really, it tags into this, and that it gives me a sense of relaxed confidence. The fact that, now that I've proven a bit of what I can do in different forms, I have a little bit more of a relaxed confidence about how I present myself when I'm trying new things going forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you should be so proud. Phenomenal.
Thank you, Lasheen.
Next up, Michelle.
Sure. I personally, I'm very proud of the fact that I have a lot of firsts that I've achieved in my family. So I'm the first in my family to go to college. I'm the first in my family, thank you, to have left my hometown. My family doesn't like that, but I am very proud of that fact. I'm the first in my family to achieve a VP title, the first to work for corporate America, and now the first to have an executive title. So I'm very proud of that. And being a Hispanic Latina, working at Bank of America, I have an extraordinary opportunity to have a seat at the table on really how we strategize to make sure that we are listening to the Hispanic Latino community, the minority community. So being a Hispanic Latino person and being a part of one of the largest organizations in the world, being a part of that strategy. And one thing that I'll just end with that's very personal to me and something I'm very proud of at Bank of America with our commitment to the minority community. About 3-4 years ago, we had a conference for the Hispanic Latino Executive Council, which I am a part of. We had about 100 members that work for Bank of America that are Hispanic Latino executives at the bank that come together once a year. We connect regularly, but we come together in person once a year. We just recently had that meeting about 3 weeks ago in Charlotte. So we were 100 about 4 years ago. We are today 300 executives that are Hispanic, Latino at Bank of America. So the commitment that we made to invest in the community, to have leaders in the community is real. So I'm very proud of that.
And incredible, just incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. Holiday, you're up.
Yeah, I think I'm the most proud of being a working mom. Hopefully a lot of people can relate to that, but it was not something that was part of my upbringing. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My grandmother was a stay-at-home mom. So I didn't have a good role model there, and I wasn't sure if I could do it. And it's hard to be at this level, have the responsibility that I have, and it doesn't feel balanced every day. Absolutely not. But in the grand scheme of things, when I reflect on the month or the year, there is balance. And I'm proud that I feel like not only have I sort of done it, but I'm proud of how I'm doing it and the level that I've reached and the kind of where my kids are at in their lives and how they're flourishing. I'm very proud of that.
As you should be. Phenomenal. And then wrapping up this segment here is going to be Kathy.
Sure. So I'll go with maybe a purely personal one just to mix it up a little bit. So I would say, growing up, I wasn't a terribly active person, not by lack of interest, but maybe just lack of opportunity. And so, I didn't really learn to necessarily do a whole lot of things when I was young. When I was in my early 20s, a girlfriend of mine encouraged me to come for a fun girls' weekend with her, which initially was supposed to be something spa oriented, and ended up being whitewater kayaking lessons. So we took 2 days of whitewater kayaking lessons. We both fell in love with it, proceeded to pursue it with a fair degree of rigor. And it was kind of the first sport I really learned how to do. It was terrifying. So it was a lot of time and effort to sort of get over the hump of the initial fear factor. So I was pretty proud of my ability to do that. It's also the sport where I was fortunate enough to meet my now husband. So kind of opened my my life in that way too. And subsequent to that, I've learned to do a bunch of other things that, quite frankly, all were not nearly as scary as whitewater kayaking. So I learned to ski, I learned to mountain bike, I learned to kiteboard. So I feel like it really gave me the confidence to learn that I could learn things, even if they, on paper seemed like they would be scary or dangerous or, maybe a little bit off the beaten path. So I would say that's a pretty proud accomplishment for me.
Absolutely. And I that resonates with me. As you can see the medals behind me, I was never a sports guy my whole life, and then I started doing these Spartan races and Ninja Warrior kind of things and fell in love with it, and it just became such a big part of my life. So I love when that happens. You four ladies have just been so tremendous. This conversation, I'm sure our audience has absorbed so much from it. So I wanted to thank you for that. We do have 3 minutes to go. I think I can sneak in the lightning round question. If you guys can answer within a quick 30-second window, what advice would you give your younger selves? I'm going to start with you, Michelle.
Sure. It always goes back to my grandmother, who was my inspiration and someone that was a very big, important part of my life growing up. It's, you can do it. Just keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing, and you can do it too.
Love it. Kathy, any advice you would give your younger self?
So I'll steal what I consider to be the best piece of life advice that I've maybe ever heard, and it was from my father-in-law, and it's quite simply to seek happiness.
That
whatever that means for you.
Yep, exactly. It's different for everybody. Everyone interprets. That's good. Okay, Kara, what do you got for us?
Feels like it should be full stop after what Kathy just said. We're done.
If I'm going to say that.
Yeah. No, I'll take it in a different direction. Career-wise, putting your head down, working your tail off, expecting that everyone sees it and they know what you're doing. That's a road to take, but it's the hard road to take.
Oh, yeah.
Try to communicate, maybe politely communicate, but make sure to communicate your intentions, your aspirations to advocates and let them advocate for you. Let them guide you and help you navigate your career. You don't have to do it alone.
Don't have to do it alone. I love it. And Holiday, take us home.
Just speaking again to all the working moms out there, or the women who want to be moms, don't waste time feeling guilty for leaving your children. I spent way too much time doing that. It's the quality, not the quantity, that matters. And they'll be so proud of you. And so don't waste time feeling guilty.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that so much. So thank you so much, Holiday, Kara, Kathy, and Michelle, for joining us today and for sharing such fantastic and tangible, realistic advice. And thanks to all of you who tuned in and watched this discussion. I'm also excited to share hot off the presses news that the Bank of America has a return to work program. And we'll be sharing more details about that through Fairygodboss. So keep your eye on their profile page. As a reminder, we will be sending out a recording of today's event, along with resources to learn more about opportunities at Bank of America. I did see there were some questions about that that we couldn't get to. So there are resources there. Just check Fairygodboss and the Bank of America profile, okay? We'd also love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. So please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen and share your thoughts in a quick 1-minute survey. Be sure to say something nice about the guy in the suit. Thanks, everyone. We will see you all next time. Have a great rest of your day and great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.